Can we start? Lata, can we start? Hello, Sridhar.
Yes. We
Sridhar,
can
can we start?
start.
We can
Yes,
start with a small prayer.
yes, please.
Yes. Sridhar,
Ah,
Dr. Sridhar. Yes,
yes,
can
ma'am.
we? Can we
Yes, ma'am.
start with a small prayer? You can give your the welcome address after the prayer.
Sure, ma'am.
Yeah.
Can I recite prayer or is there anyone to
Yes.
recite the prayer?
Yes, you can recite. No problem.
Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. चूडोत्तंसित चंद्रचारु कलिका चंचच्छिखा भास्वरः लीला दग्ध विलोल कामशलभः श्रेयो दशाग्रे स्फुरन् अन्तस्फूर्जदपारमोहतिमिर प्राग्भारमुच्चाटयन् चेतः सद्मनि योगिनां विजयते ज्ञानप्रदीपो हरः मेघश्यामं पीतकौशेयवासं श्रीवत्साङ्कं कौस्तुभोद्भासिताङ्गं पुण्योपेतं पुण्डरीकायताक्षं विष्णुं वन्दे सर्वलोकैकनाथं हरिः ओम्. Shall I proceed to welcome address directly?
Yes.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. वैश्विक संस्कृत मंचेन सह तमिलनाडु प्रांत तेन सह सीतालक्ष्मी रामस्वामी महाविद्यालयः त्रिशिरपुरम् अर्थात् तिरुचिरापल्ली तथैव शारदा महिला विद्यालयः सेलम यतिराज महिला महाविद्यालयः चन्नपुरी विवेकानंद महाविद्यालयः पत्रिका परमेश्वरपुरी दक्षिणमथुरा तथैव गुरुनानक महाविद्यालयः चन्नपुरी इत्यादयः संस्थाः मिलित्वा राष्ट्रीयस्तर विद्युज्जाल मार्गमेन संगोष्ठी इयम् आयोजिता। अस्याः संगोष्ठ्याः शीर्षकं भवति भागवतपुराणस्य उपाख्यानानां व्याख्या कथा अर्थः रूपकं च। अस्मिन् सन्दर्भे भागं स्वीकर्तुं ये विद्वांसः विदुष्यः अत्र विद्युज्जाल माध्यमेन समुपस्थिताः तेषां स्वागतकरणे महान् मोदो मे मनसि जायते। इतः परं सर्वेषां सरल अवगमनार्थम् आङ्ग्लभाषया किञ्चित् प्रस्तौमि। The most respected convener of this wonderful event, Dr. S. Usha, Head and Associate Professor, Department of Sanskrit, Sita Lakshmi Ramaswamy College, Tamil Nadu. Advisor of this wonderful event, Dr. Rajesh Kumar Mishra, Secretary, Global Sanskrit Forum, and all other dignitaries. I feel extremely happy to propose welcome address to this wonderful one-day national webinar on the topic Myth, Meaning and Metaphor, Interpreting Narratives from Bhagavata Purana, which is being organized by Global Sanskrit Forum, Tamilnadu Prant, in association with Sita Lakshmi Ramaswamy College, Trichy, Sharada College for Women, Salem, Etiraj College for Women, Chennai, Vivekananda College, Thiruvedakam, Madurai, and Guru Nanak College, Chennai. I feel extremely happy to welcome our advisor, Dr. Rajesh Kumar Mishra, Secretary, Global Sanskrit Forum. And I also take the privilege to welcome our guiding principal, Dr. S. Usha, Head and Associate Professor of Sanskrit, Sita Lakshmi Ramaswamy College, Tamil Nadu. I also take the opportunity to welcome our chief guest and a resource person, Dr. Shakuntala Gaude, Associate Professor, Department of Sanskrit, University of Mumbai, who has readily accepted our invitation and who is ready to extend an enlightening talk on the topic Myth, Meaning and Metaphor Interpreting Narratives from Srimad Bhagavata Purana. And I also take the privilege to welcome the coordinators, my sisters, Dr. Lata Sridhar and Dr. V. Anusha. And last but not the least, I also take the opportunity to welcome the participants who have gathered here in this online mode to listen to this wonderful lecture, one-day national webinar on the topic Myth, Meaning and Metaphor Interpreting Narratives from Bhagavata Purana. I also prostrate Almighty for giving me this wonderful opportunity. Thank you one and all. Itisham.
Thank you, Dr. Sridhar. Now I take the opportunity to welcome our chief guest. आदरणीयाः गुरवः, विद्वांसः, अध्यापकाः, शोधार्थिनः, छात्राश्च अद्यतन अन्तर्जालीयव्याख्याने सर्वेभ्यः हार्दिकं सुस्वागतम्। अद्य वयं भागवतपुराणस्य उपाख्यानानां व्याख्या, कथा, अर्थः, रूपकञ्च इत्यस्मिन् शीर्षके प्रख्याताम् अध्यापिकां डॉक्टर शकुन्तला गावडे महोदयायाः व्याख्यानं श्रोतुं सम्मिलिताः स्मः। A very warm welcome to all the distinguished faculty members, scholars, researchers, students, and participants joining us for today's online lecture. It is both an honor and a pleasure for me to introduce our esteemed guest speaker, Dr. Shakuntala Gavde, Associate Professor and former Head of the Department of Sanskrit at the University of Mumbai. She is a distinguished scholar whose academic career reflects a rare blend of deep traditional grounding and rigorous interdisciplinary engagement. Her academic journey is marked by exceptional merit. She secured first rank and gold medals in both her BA in Sanskrit and MA in Sanskrit with a specialization in Vedanta. She went on to complete her MPhil in Sanskrit, specializing in Eastern and Western philosophy, and further advancing her scholarly pursuits. She earned her PhD in Sanskrit, undertaking a comparative study entitled Eschatology in Vedic Literature in Comparison with Western Philosophy. Her areas of research interest include Vedanta, Hinduism, religious studies, Purana studies, aesthetics, and comparative philosophy. She has contributed extensively to national and international journals, edited volumes, and encyclopedias, significantly enriching cross-cultural and comparative philosophical discourse. Notably, her work, has appeared in the Encyclopedia of Hinduism and Tribal Religion published by Springer. She has actively participated in several national and international academic forums, including the World Sanskrit Conference in 2015 and 2023. She also served as a resource person for courses on Upanishads, leadership science, and aesthetics, demonstrating her commitment to extending Sanskrit studies into contemporary and interdisciplinary domains. She was the coordinator for the section on world religion and philosophy for Marathi Vishwakosha from 2016 to 2022. Her scholarship has received international recognition, including her invitation as a visiting fellow at the University of Kalenia, Sri Lanka in 2017. Among her major publications in the book is her book on narrative analysis of Bhagavata Purana, published in 2023. She has also edited and co-edited several significant scholarly volumes reflecting the breadth of her academic engagement. In addition, she has successfully completed funded research projects supported by Hira's Institute of Indian History and Culture, Sir Dorabji Tata Trust, and the University of Mumbai. In recognition of her excellence in teaching and her enduring contribution to Sanskrit scholarship, she has been honored with the Akademistan Best Teacher Award in 2021. Her academic journey exemplifies the dynamic interface between tradition and innovation in Sanskrit studies, and we are truly privileged to have her with us today. On behalf of the organizing team, I extend a very hearty welcome to you, madam, and I invite you to kindly deliver her lecture. Thank you. On to you, ma'am.
Namo Namaha. Respected dignitaries, scholars, students, and all the participants. First of all, I thank you, Dr. Usha Srinivasan, Madam, and Dr. Rajendra Mishraji of Global Sanskrit Forum, and all the organizing colleges for inviting me here. And I will start with my presentation now. The topic which is given to me is myth, meaning, and metaphor, interpreting narratives from the Bhagavata Purana. I hope all of you can see the slides.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. So let us proceed to understand this topic, myth, meaning, and metaphor, interpreting narratives from Bhagavata Purana. I learned that there was a lecture on metaphors in Puranas 2 days back. And in continuation to that, I am now delivering a lecture particularly in Bhagavata Purana. But before that, I would like to little bit explain about the role of myth and metaphors in Puranas and how that interpretation takes place. So what is the meaning of myth basically? So myth means actually a story. And many a times the word myth is misunderstood. It is considered that something is called myth means it is false, but it is not so. Myth is considered as a story, or it can be considered as a sacred story, because myths are very specific to scriptures or some religious text. Of course, myths are different than, mythology is different than logos, that is a scientific text. And therefore, it needs a lot of interpretation. Myth doesn't mean false, but there is some principle, there is some what we can say, there's some fact is told in the form of story. But often it involves some supernatural beings, some heroes, or some miraculous elements, which are definitely different than some logical incidences many a times. But it definitely connotes some principle which is psychological. It may sometimes preach some religious principle, some moral ideal, or ethical teachings as well. So myths can be of variety. They can be legends, they can be simply stories, folk tales, fables, oral narratives, etc. So generally they are considered of two types, myths and legends. And myths are considered as the stories which are totally fictitious. But of course, as I said, we have to derive the principle which is to be stated from the myths. Then there are legends, which are called as Puravrutta also. Means it is based on some fact, but told in such a way that it looks very miraculous. So often we say that Itihasa, Ramayana and Mahabharata are called as Itihasa because they are actually historical narrations. But while telling that, definitely certain miraculous elements get added, some adbhutatmakata get added, and therefore they are called as legend. But it doesn't mean that they are fictitious. There is a history which is told through them. But when it comes to Puranas, it is different because though Puranas are based on some historical principles, their viewpoint or their focus may be different. They are not to tell something called history, and therefore they often we can see that more are dwelling on Adbhutatmakata, those miraculous elements also. So we can see that they are like storehouse of myths, legends, various loka kathas, akhyanas, upakhyanas, etc. And so we need a multifarious or multidimensional perspective to interpret Puranas. So when we understand the word myth, we have to understand mythology, which is a science to interpret the myths. And there are various theories to understand how these myths function. So there are some cosmological myths which are related to creation. They often highlight some cosmological principle, like we have in Vedas also, we have the Purusha Sukta, which uses the metaphor of sacrifice in understanding of the cosmology. Then there are functional myths or charter myths, means there are some rituals which are actually highlighted through certain myths. There are Vrata Kathas also, some Dana Kathas are there in Puranas also. The ritual myth theory comes for that, means some stories come to highlight the importance of some certain ritual, we can say. Then there is a psychoanalytical school which um, actually decipher the myth from psychological perspective. There is very important theory called structuralism, actually, which got developed from the principles of which was propounded by Saussure, who was a linguist. And then it was further expanded to the culture and literature by scholars like Roland Barthes, etc. So myths are classified in various ways to find out their purpose, basically. Whether this myth is trying to find out some cosmological principle or to endorse some ritual or to endorse certain custom or some religious principle or moral or ethical teaching, or it is simply pedagogical, or sometimes just highlighting the sociological fact. So myth can be multidimensional, and therefore to interpret myth is not easy because it involves a multidimensional perspective, we can say. So when Puranas are there, when we think about Puranic text, we know the tradition of our texts right from the Vedic literature. Similarly, Puranas are actually oral narratives. As the name suggests, Purana means ancient, old, and various etymology highlight the same fact. Pura paramparam vakti, Puranam tena vai smrutam, Puranavam bhavati, or Yasmat Purahi anati, Idam Puranam tena smrutam. So Puranas have actually, we can say that, recorded our ancient traditions. Puranas have done the great task of recording the ancient traditions. But Puranas were meant for masses, for common people. And so we can say that therefore stories or the akhyanas is the essence of the Puranic text. Because when it is to preach the common man, one cannot be just narrating the principles which are there in Shastra Granthas, because that can be heavily loaded. So by understanding the psychology of the common people, Puranas have dwelled into many stories which will be appealing to the common people. So when we understand about the Puranas tradition, that is oral tradition, it comes as, the Puranas were composed by Vyasa. So all the credit of all Purana Samhitas go to Vyasa. And then Vyasa taught to his disciple Romaharshana, then Romaharshana to 6 disciples. Then again he taught to his son Ugrashravas, who was also known as Sauti. And so it is said that the whole Purana Parampara actually was preserved by Suta Parampara. So when we read Puranas, they actually are unfolded through dialogue. And these dialogues take place at various levels. There are various narrators and narratee in the Puranas. And there are narrations within the narrations, and through that, the particular topic is unfolded. So, Puranic tradition is basically the oral tradition. And what is the subject matter of the Puranas? Which we can understand through its 5 features. These are very common features of the Puranas. We know that there are 18 Mahapuranas and Upapuranas as well, additionally. And these are the common features. Sargascha prati sargascha vansho manvantarani cha vanshanucharitam cheti puranam panchalakshanam. So Puranas do talk about the creation, dissolution, various genealogies, that is vansha, manvantara, different periods of manus, and then Vanshanucharita also, that is genealogies of kings and their dynasties, etc. But again, Puranas are not limited to only these 5 features. These 5 are the main features that you will find in almost all Puranas. But apart from that, Puranas go into, or Puranas unfold many topics. And therefore, Puranas are like encyclopedia. They will deal about the different vratas, different dana kathas, sacred geographies, again very important topic of the Puranas. They will talk about Tirtha Mahatmyas, Devata Mahatmya, and many things. But of course, all is unfolded through narrative, stories, myths, legends. What we can say is, see, the Arthavada principle which is there in Vedas, particularly in Brahmana Granthas, is extended by Puranas. And therefore, these stories are not for entertainment. Like we read the story literature in classical Sanskrit literature. But these stories are to preach something. They have the didactic motive. They want to endorse some social principle. They want to highlight some moral teaching like that. And therefore, deciphering Puranas is a major task. Puranas can't be understood as it is on literal sense, because there are many symbolic narrations, there are allegorical narratives, there are glorifications, there are curses and boons. So curses and boons need to be decoded. There are, so we can say that these are the 10 principles which are reflected in Puranas, which are given by the scholar Ayyappa Panikar, which are the features of narrative literature, are applicable to Puranas as well. For example, antarnihitatvam, that is interiorization. So you can't understand just superficial meaning, which is there, but you have to go inside, you have to understand the inner meaning. Shrunkhalatmakata is there because Puranas often dwell into chain narratives. One narrative, one story is connected with the another, and so on and so on. So we have to understand the connection. Adbhutatmakata is obviously there. Chakrakarata means cyclic narratives are there. There are circles within the circles, means stories within the stories, or stories come to an end where it started, like that. Rupakatmakata, yes, we are going to see in detail. Then Apaurusheya Kathanam, because though Vyasa is the actually composer of all the Puranas, of course, in the tone of the oral narratives, definitely many stories were added as a part of the Purana genre, and we don't know they are added by whom, because it comes as a tradition. That's Diktatvam. The space is very important principle in Puranas. There is so much importance to place where the stories are happening. For example, in Bhagavata Purana, certain places becomes very important, like it may be Vrindavan or Mathura, like that. Then there is a Vistruta Kala Tattvam, the time period. Puranas talk in the time of yugas. They are not giving you the specific year or something, but they could talk in the time of yugas because they are relevant beyond space and time. The principles are relevant beyond space and time. Then Vikasanatmakata. We see some stories that is repeated in many Puranas, but with some principle of improvisation. So we need to understand that in order to decipher any particular story. So when we come to metaphors, symbolism, and allegories, we know metaphor is a type of figure of speech actually. But here, while understanding the interpretation of Puranas, we are not just limiting metaphor to a kind of figure, but much beyond that, because metaphor leads to some kind of symbolism and allegory, because these are used as devices to connote something. So Puranas do not use the what we can say is a straightforward language while dealing with certain principles or dealing with certain subject matter, but they often get involved into metaphor, symbolism, and allegory to endorse certain facts, certain principles, because it is very natural that when it is told in the form of metaphor, symbolism, and allegory, it makes an effect, definitely a positive effect on the minds of listener. The principle gets engraved on the minds of listener, not if told in the straightforward manner. So Puranas understood the psychology of the common people, and therefore they use the cryptic language, and we can say that certain principles are encoded and or we can say encrypted, which we need to decode. So we need to decode that metaphor, we need to decode that symbolism or allegory often while reading the Puranas. So when we interpret Puranas, we have to consider these viewpoints. Sometimes we have to understand philosophical approach, sociological approach, historical approach, etymological approach, psychological approach, or sometimes all or some of them. So because Puranas can be multidimensional, as I said, they are dealing with sometimes religion, they are dealing with cosmology, they are dealing with Devata Mahatmya, like that. Sometimes they are dealing with certain characters. So we have to use different approaches to understand Puranic narratives. We have to connect Vedic literature as well while understanding Puranas. We can't say that Vedas are different, and so let me understand just Puranas. No, because it is clearly, the principle of interpretation. Itihasa Purana Abhyam Vedam Samupabrohaye. That we find that certain Vedic principles get extended in Puranas. So certain narratives have definitely their seed in Vedas. And so we have to find the connection of the Vedas, and accordingly we have to interpret. Otherwise, that interpretation will be, if you are not considering the Vedas into context, then that interpretation may be a misinterpretation. Therefore, it is said, Bibhet alpashrutad vedo mahyam praharishyati. So even while understanding Vedas, we have to refer to the Puranas. Similarly, while deciphering Puranas, we have to go back to the Vedas also. Then there are different theories, even put forward by Westerners, which we can apply, like structuralism, which is very important theory to understand different versions of the Puranas. Gennett's theory is there of narrative, Rolla Barth's theory is there. Now coming to the Bhagavata Puranam, which is very important among the 18 Mahapuranas, which is most popular. And the speciality and the peculiarity of Bhagavata Purana is that still, it is a living tradition. Still, we have the tradition of Bhagavata Saptaha. Saptahas are held, in different regions, and they are narrated, contextualizing the current scenario. And so the narratives from Bhagavata Purana are interpreted, reinterpreted, considering the modern scenario. Of course, Bhagavata Purana is again treasure house of the narratives because it has really 12 skandhas, and the focus is definitely Krishna Charitra. It is Vaishnava Mahapurana, of course. But where, Puranas are having only 5 features, here Bhagavata Purana is considered as Dasha Lakshanam Bhagavatam. Bhagavata has 10 features. So additionally, there are 5 features. And again, the speciality of Bhagavata is that it is not only dealing with mere narrations or, as I said, Arthavada, but it has what we can say a great confluence of aesthetics, metaphysics, and bhakti. Of course, Bhagavata means bhakti. We have to set that equation because that is how the contextualization of Bhagavata happens. That Bhagavata is about Bhagavan and it is about the glory of the God. So the bhakti is the essence, or we can say bhakti is the soul of Bhagavata Purana. But it doesn't mean that there are no other meanings and there are no other principles which are there in Bhagavata. It also actually elaborates the principle and different margas like jnana, karma, bhakti, yoga. It has a reflection of many philosophical schools, we can say. And that is the reason that many commentaries were written on Bhagavata Purana. It is important, so much so from aesthetic perspective that it is considered that Bhagavata is like Amruta. It is like nectar. It is said that Nigama Kalpataroho Galitam Phalam. It is like the fruit. It is a sweet fruit of the Vedas. Shukamukhad Amruta Drava Sanyatam. And it is literally flowing from the mouth of Shukadev. Pibata Bhagavatam Rasamalaya. It is said that, oh, Rasikas, you can partake of the Bhagavata. Muhu aho rasika bhuvi bhavikaha. Those are not rasikas, but devotees. Devotees are uh, requested to partake this Bhagavata rasa. So Bhagavata itself called as actually rasa. And this so Parabrahman, which is reflected in Bhagavata, is Jneya, Dheya, Geya, and Peya as well. And but it is not easy to decode Bhagavata because it has many undercurrents, many philosophical complexities, many different amalgamation of different schools of philosophy we can see. And therefore it is said that Bhagavate Vidyavatam Pariksha. It is really the test of knowledgeable people to read and understand Bhagavata. Of course, the stories are very simple, and that is the nature of Puranas. It gets involved into stories which will appeal from, we can say, children to the old people. And therefore, many stories as a part of Indian culture are still floating in the oral narratives, and we know them, we know the stories. But often we sometimes we can say that ignore to the meaning of those narratives. So when we understand the Bhagavata, we have to understand that it is a grand narrative. It is the, as I said, it is the rich treasure house of narratives, and these narratives are uh, organized in the form of akhyanas and upakhyanas, and it is like a chain of narrative. As I said earlier, there is one feature, shrunkhalatmakata. So it is like a shrunkhala. that one narrative connect the other connect means one to the second, second to the third, like that. And sometimes these are circles within the circles. Like we can say that Sutta narrates this Purana to the sages in Naimisharanya. That is the common framework which is there for almost all Puranas. But when Bhagavata is contextualized, it is contextualized in the dialogue of Narada and Vyasa. It is said that Vyasa was sitting on the banks of river Saraswati in very dejected mind. And there came Narada, inquiring about his state of mind. So Vyasa said that I have composed Bharata, that is Mahabharata. I have composed Puranas, but still I am not getting peace of mind. So Narada says, you haven't composed anything which will actually narrate the glory of the God, which will create or which will arouse bhakti in the mind of people. And then, Vyasa composed Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, this is the contextualization of the Bhagavata Purana. Now, again, this may be symbolic or allegorical because the meeting between Narada and Vyasa, even here, the character of Narada is significant because Narada is himself is a devotee singing the glory of Vishnu continuously, consistently. And here, by the advice of Narada, Vyasa composed Bhagavata Purana. And here the essence of Bhagavata gets highlighted, that it is bhakti and the glory of the God. So this is again the outer frame. There is one more inner frame, that Shuka narrating the story to the Parikshita. So such signs of the oral narrative are present in the text itself. Why these frame narratives are there? These frame narrative sets the context of the Bhagavata Purana, because why Bhagavata? Why it is necessary? What is the significance in current scenario? So various narrative techniques are used in Bhagavata to arouse the interest of the audience, to preach the philosophy, and also to teach the moral principles. So there are many frames within the main frame, we can say. And so if we analyze all the levels of the narrative in Bhagavata, we definitely come to know that it is literally a grand narrative. Now, if we decode the context, because context itself is allegorical, see, because it starts on the verge of Kali Yuga. It is said that because while explaining the inner frame, that why Shuka narrates the story to Parikshita. So the awful period of Kali Yuga is described, that it was very horrible, ferocious, because the Sri Krishna has departed to his abode, and after that, the period is really awful. So Parikshita, the king, has kept control over the Kali with his valor. And here again, the symbolic description of Kali Yuga appears. A man who is wearing all the signs of king is beating a bull and cow. Now here, bull is again the symbolic, actually it is a metaphor of dharma, and whereas cow is symbolic of earth. Now it is said that dharma has lost its 3 feet. 3 feet. Dharma was standing earlier on the 4 legs. That is tapas, pavitrya, daya, and satya. But now in the Kali Yuga, it has lost 3 feet out of 4. And cow is weeping. Cow, which is symbolic of earth, is weeping due to the burden. Often in Puranic narratives, earth is symbolized by the metaphor of cow. And so here comes the role of Parikshit. Parikshit raised a sword to kill that Kali, and then Kali surrendered to King Parikshita. But he asked for the resort. Where should I go? So Parikshita assigned 5 places to him: Dyuta, Madhyapana, Vyabhichara, Himsa, and Suvarna means Dhana. Now here we understand that this particular contextual narrative is very much allegorical, because the bull and cow are symbolic. And again, this story comes to narrate something. What it's narrating? Because everything is happening at the verge, or at we can say contextualizing Kali Yuga. So the awful period of Kali Yuga is described. The ferocious period of Kali Yuga is described. So in this Kali Yuga, Dharma has lost most of its portion. So therefore it is difficult. Therefore it is awful. That is highlighted, one thing. Another thing is Parikshita has assigned Kali these 5 places, Dyuta, Madhyapana, etc. Means it is said that a person wishing the benefactor of himself should be away from these 5 places. So the moral teaching is definitely preached. The moral principle is preached. Again, the time period which is set in the beginning of the Bhagavata Purana is Kali Yuga, because Bhagavata Purana wants to highlight its relevance in the Kali Yuga. In the Kali Yuga, Bhagavata should be read, Bhagavata should be narrated, Bhagavata should be studied. That is the understanding of Bhagavata Purana itself. Another narrative comes again inside. The king Parikshita was hunting once, and he got afflicted with hunger, and he entered one hermitage. And there he saw that one sage was doing penance. He was so engrossed that the whole he was covered with the deer skin on his body. But Parikshita was enraged that he received no hospitality in the hermitage. So what he did is he hung the dead serpent in his in the neck of sage. Now it was seen by sage Shrungi, who was the son of that sage who was doing penance. And Shrungi cursed Parikshit that you will die on the 7th day from Takshaka's bite. Now Parikshit realized that I have done something wrong. So he decided to fast till the death. And then he happened to meet Shukadeva, and he asked, what should I do now? When just, very short time is left for till the death. So here Shuka answered all his questions in the form of Bhagavata. So here again the contextualization of Bhagavata happens, that Bhagavata is the savior in Kali Yuga. In Kali Yuga, you may not read all the Shastras and different scriptures, but Bhagavata will definitely help you. Then Bhagavata is contextualized in the case of Parikshit, because it removes the fear of death. It should be heard when death is near, and it is definitely severe from the dying. It removes the fear of death. So this is the contextualization of death. It helps one to transcend the death. So there are many motifs, many kind of symbolism, we can say, the curse story basically, because curse and boons always come as an allegory. So here the curse is symbolic, which suggests the downfall of the Parikshita. And of course, Bhagavata helps him to face that fear of death and to transcend the death. So this contextualization is given in symbolic, metaphorical manner, we can say. Then there is again additional framework which is set by Bhagavata Mahatmya. Now, Bhagavata Mahatmya is added actually later. It is actually not the part of Bhagavata Purana, but later gets added in the beginning of the Bhagavata Mahatmya. So here Sutta starts narrating this secret narration which is told by Shuka, and it is the meeting of Narada to the Bhakti. Narada states that he came to the earth and traversed all places like Prayag, Kashi, Godavari, Haridwar, but didn't find a solace of the mind, didn't find a peace of mind. So he went to the Yamuna, the banks of Yamuna, and he was seeing all the ill effects again of Kali Yuga. And there he saw a lady, youthful lady called Bhakti, and she was in dejected state of mind, and there were two sons, Jnana and Vairagya. They were unconscious and almost old, so it was very much reverse actually. Means but she then told that aham bhakti iti khyata imau me tanayau matau, that these are my sons, but it was reverse, that her sons were old and she was young. Then she told that I was born in Dravida, grew up in Karnataka, honored in Maharashtra, and got old in Gujarat. So it highlights some socio-historical principle, that how Bhakti movement took the momentum through different regions. So this story is definitely again allegorical, symbolic. Here, Bhakti is considered as youthful lady, Jnana and Vairagya, which are important principles or means to get moksha, are considered as old, because again it is Kali Yuga. Jnana and Vairagya were youthful when there were three yugas, Satya, Dvapara, and Treta. But in Kali Yuga, only Bhakti is the means of liberation, and so Bhagavata is the savior. Now it is said that Mukti also had accompanied Bhakti, but she went back to Vaikuntha, and now only she comes whenever necessary in Kali Yuga. So Narada then performed the Bhagavata Saptaha to nourish Bhakti, and then Bhakti again felt cheerful. And that narration comes. So this is again symbolic to highlight the fact that Bhakti can be nourished with the narration of Bhagavata, and that is very much essential in Kali Yuga. It propounds the role of Bhagavata as Moksha Shastra. Okay. Then of course, the Bhagavata is, as I said, treasure house of the narratives. But I will take some examples to understand this, how this metaphor can be decoded, how symbolism can be decoded. In 10th Skanda particularly, there is a Krishna Charitra. And in that we can see, is anyone drawing something on presentation? Please refrain from doing that. So exploits, there are exploits of demons by child Krishna. We know that the story is very well known, so I will not go into much into stories. That Kamsa had sent various demons to kill Krishna, and Krishna killed all those. So there are actually it is a list of demons I have given: Dhenukasura, Pralambasura, Arishtasura, Keshi, Vyoma, Agha, Baka, Vatsa, Trunavarta, like that. Now they are mostly in the form of animals: donkey, bull, then python, calf, etc. Of course, some are in the human form as well. One is Trunavarta, which is in the form of cyclone. Now, for example, if we take the Dhenukasura, now this Dhenukasura was in the form of donkey, and this Dhenukasura had hold on the forest of Tala trees. Okay, so forest of Tala trees was not accessible to anyone because of Dhenukasura. So here comes a story that Krishna and Balarama killed Dhenukasura and his relatives and set this forest free from for all. Now here Dhenuka becomes that symbolic code, because Dhenuka may be certain antisocial element or leader of some group, because it comes always that Dhenuka and his relatives or something. So setting free that Tala forest is for common people is definitely a social activity, we can say. So this may be a kind of social principle which is highlighted through this allegory. Again, all these demons are mostly animals. Now, why animals? So, this is again a symbolism. It highlights many principles actually. The hero journey or the hero myths are, we can find across the world mythology. And animals are considered always of suggestive of great physical power, which are not possessed by humans. So when someone overpowers any animal, he is considered as a hero. So all heroes across the world mythologies, we can see that they always fight with some animal. And here Krishna not only comes as a hero or divinity or avatar, but as a Brahma in Bhagavata. So naturally, the valor of the Krishna gets highlighted when he fights with animals. Then also, he comes as a social leader because animals actually represent some totemic tribes because there were some totemic tribes which were symbolized by certain symbols of animals like Naga, Garuda, etc. And Krishna fighting with these animals actually suggests that he had triumphed over all these tribal communities, or he had subsumed them in his own pantheon. So this is actually the assimilation, act of assimilation, and we can say synthesis, which was happening in Vaishnava cult. Then there is another fact which gets highlighted here. It is a psychological trait. Animals are suggestive of certain behavioral peculiarities. For example, dhenuk or donkey. It suggests that donkeys are great in physical prowess, but they are low in intellectual capacity. So that is suggestive. So maybe they want to suggest certain human beings having that peculiarity. Even python or snake, which is poisonous. There are certain humans who are actually poisonous. So maybe certain human tendencies get more highlighted, more emphasized through the metaphor of animals. So exploit of demon can be seen through these various perspectives like mythology, social perspective, and even psychological perspective. Then another example we can take here is of Putana narrative. Krishna kills Putana. We know that Putana came Krishna to breastfeed, and Krishna sucked her life, and thus Putana was killed. Now here in Bhagavata Purana, the description of Putana is given, and it is given in very symbolic and allegorical manner that she was very terrible. To state that, it is said that by her voice itself, the earth started shaking, all the planets started shaking, and as if they felt that there is some vajrapat or something. So very much terrible description of Putana is there to highlight that she was evil in nature. So that evil powers get fantasized in the form of symbolic description, first of all. Then again and again in the narrative, we can say that she is considered as Balagraha, Balaghatini, Yatudhani, Balakamarika, Rakshasi, Rudhiranashana, Balagni. So various, such kind of epithets are used for Putana. So Putana episode definitely has one principle, that victory of good over evil, because Putana represents all the evil prowess, whereas Krishna represents the good power, to the victory of good over evil. That is a very common. Then another thing is, as she is again and again referred as Balagraha, Balagrahas tatra vichinvati shishun. So here Balagraha is the narrative code which we need to decode. And we can see that in Ayurvedic texts like Sushruta Samhita and others, these Balagrahas are referred where, particularly in case of the diseases of children where the reason is unknown. And in those diseases, Putana is also mentioned. In fact, various types of Putana are mentioned, and generally this kind of disease gets through the milk, the breastfeeding. And even the signs or various lakshanas of roga lakshanas are also given, that foul smell, etc. And if we see the etymology of the word putana, it also means it can be derived from the root pui, which means putrid or foul smell or something. So here Putana may be the symbolism of disease, because if you see in Bhagavata Purana, the how Putana enters into the town, and it is said that she started going in, she started spreading. So it may be symbol of some disease on which Krishna could triumph over, could win over. So Putana can be decoded like this. Another again interpretation we can see from the sociological perspective of the famous story of famous narrative of Kaliya Mardana. Kaliya was the Naga and he was triumphed over by Krishna. Now here again the symbolism is there, because it is said that Kaliya serpent had made the water of Yamuna very much poisonous. Now here serpent is again a prominent motif in world mythology, and in many mythologies of different cultures, we find a snake as a sea monster, etc. So here also Kaliya has obstructed the water principle, because Yamuna is not accessible to common people. The water of Yamuna cannot be used by others. So here the symbolism of water is also important to understand. Here water is life principle, and here Kaliya Nag is obstructing the life principle. The very life of the people, water is considered as a life. He had made the water as poisonous. So Krishna again defeated the Kaliya Naga, and so here again the symbolism is there in the narrative we can see, because Kaliya is referred as Nrupa, king, which is a narrative seed, because Kaliya ruled over waters for a long time. It also reflects the conflict between the Naga clan, Naga cult, and newly arising Krishna cult. So it is a sociological principle. Again, in the story, you can see that Krishna danced on the hoods of Kaliya, and then Kaliya surrenders to Krishna, because Krishna's feet are imprinted on the hoods of Kaliya's hoods. So here it is suggestive of surrender. It suggests the sociological principle of assimilation and acculturation, because Krishna subsumed, or it like Krishna gave abhaya to this Kaliya serpent. Actually, he did not kill him, but he gave abhaya. And it suggests that this Naga cult was subsumed in the Krishna cult. So it suggests a very important sociological principle of assimilation and acculturation. Okay. Then another story which can highlight the same principle is lifting of Govardhana mountain. How much time I can continue? Can you tell me?
Madam, it depends.
Or-
Your talk is so very interesting. Whatever you please share. We are ready to listen.
Okay.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. So this sociological principle, how it gets highlighted in this Kaliya Mardana narrative we have seen, then we can see this in lifting of Govardhana mountain also. Again, I would like to highlight here is that though this narrative now I am giving as an example of sociological approach, they are actually multifarious in nature. They can be understood in another way by another approach as well. Bhakti is inherent in all these narratives. It can be understood in bhakti perspective also. So in lifting of Govardhana mountain, we can see that we are all aware that there were preparations of Indra Yajna all gopas and gopis were doing, but Krishna opposes to this Indra Yajna, the preparation. And he proposes the worship of Govardhana mountain because he said that we all are gopas and gopis and our livelihood is on this mountain. So we must
Please, we request the participants not to scribble anything, please.
Yeah. So Krishna proposes the worship of Govardhana mountain. So as a result, we know that Indra gets angry and he showers the torrential rains. And then Krishna provides the shelter by lifting Govardhana. Now here we can see that the decline of Indra is very clearly reflected in this particular narrative. Because Indra was prominent deity in Vedas, but in Puranas we can see there is, though there are stories and narratives centering around Indra, they always show Indra's character somewhat declining. He is afraid of his position getting snatched by someone or something like that. So here it is clearly seen that now Indra is not that important. Indra is losing his place. Again, there is a strife between Indra and Krishna cult. We can clearly see that, and Krishna is winning over that because in the end of this story, Indra admits the supremacy of Krishna. Another important point which is here uh, emphasized is rejuvenation of mountain worship. Because if we go back to understand the history of mountain worship, we can see that it was very much there with Aboriginal tribes. So it must be the part of the folk culture of the Braja region, which was rejuvenated by Krishna. And not only that, when all the gopis offer the food to Govardhana, Krishna comes before that mountain in very huge form, Brihadvapu it is said, and said, Shailosmi iti bruvan bhuri balim adadad Brihadvapu. He said, Shailaha asmi, I am the mountain. So here the identification of Govardhana mountain and Krishna takes place. So here again the principle of assimilation and acculturation is seen, that mountain worshippers are accommodated or subsumed or assimilated in Krishna pantheon, Vaishnava pantheon. And we can see this again as a living tradition because the Govardhana worship is done even till today by many Vaishnavas. So here the sociological principle we can see in Govardhana Uddharana narrative. Very much we can see this assimilation and acculturation. Then we had seen the narration of Putana. So here again another principle we can see in that, which is a psychological interpretation. See, in Putana narrative, we can see that it is not Putana Vadha. Before Bhagavata, also this narrative comes as a part of Harivansha, Vishnu Purana. And in Bhagavata, this Putana Vadha get transformed into Putana Moksha. So at the end of this narrative, it is said that when Putana's funeral was performed, all gopis were surprised because there was a smell of sandalwood. Now, why there was a smell of sandalwood? Because Putana also got moksha. Now, why Putana got moksha? So here comes the principle of Vidvesha Bhakti, which is there in Puranas, and of course in Bhagavata Purana it comes very prominently with all the demons getting killed in the hands of Krishna. So here extreme hatred leads to meditation because these demons are consistently thinking of Krishna, maybe with the thought of enmity. But this consistent thinking leads to meditation. It is like dhyana, tailadharavat avichinna smriti santana rupam. And so those evil-minded people also get liberated when they get killed by the hands of the Lord. Now, in case of Putana, yes, it is a kind of maternal devotion because Putana uh, literally breastfed Krishna. So the psychoanalysis of Putana is also done by certain scholars. It is said that maybe she came to kill Krishna, but when she started breastfeeding Krishna, her thoughts must have changed and she must be overpowered with motherly love towards Krishna. And that transformation maybe was responsible for that kind of devotion which she could address to Krishna. And so it is clearly said in Bhagavata Purana that Putana got the gati which other mothers of Krishna must have got. So she got the fortune of being mother of Krishna. So here comes that there is a scope for that psychological interpretation because Bhagavata is not going into those details, but just presenting the narrative signs that she got that Matrugati. Now, how it is possible? The key is to decode the narrative with psychological approach. Okay, then we come to the last part, which is philosophical and spiritual interpretation, which is actually very common in Bhagavata. So we take the example of Gopi Chiraharanam. Actually, this Gopi Chiraharanam, that Krishna taking away the clothes of gopis when they are bathing, this comes actually in the context of Katyayani Vrata, when it is stated in Bhagavata Purana. Okay. And Krishna asked them to bow down to Varuna, as you have, they say, he says that you have transgressed the rule of this vow because you should not take the bath naked. And therefore, so this actually narration comes to systematized the Katyayani vow, Katyayani Vrata. Again, the fruit of Katyayani Vrata is that means because gopis were performing that vrata to get Krishna as their husband, and Krishna ultimately say that, oh, okay, your wish will get fulfilled. So the one aspect of Gopi Chira Haranam is that it comes as Vrata Katha, Katyayani Vrata Katha, as far as Bhagavata Purana is concerned. Another is spiritual metaphor, because when considered in literal sense or superficial sense, it may sound very much weird, but it is not so because it can't be understood in literal or superficial sense. As I said, interiorization is very much there in Puranas. So here, metaphor is there, very much there. Gopis are the metaphor for Jiva and Krishna is for the Parabrahman. Because gopis are often considered as not ordinary Jiva. They are either sadhakas or liberated jivas. So Krishna taking away the garments of gopis is also a spiritual metaphor because vastra or the garment is a covering principle. It is considered as achadana. So achadana of the jiva, of the covering of the jiva, is denoted by body, mind, or intellect. And Krishna taking away this covering principle is actually suggestive of the grace of God. And this grace of God is very much reflected in Bhagavata Purana because a Lord or God selects those who love Him. Priyatama eva varaniyo bhavati, which is given by Ramanujacharya in Sri Bhashya. So that concept of Varana is central to the Vaishnava Vedanta. We can see, we can trace back to Bhagavata Purana. Krishna taking away their garments is suggestive of the grace. Now, Krishna actually showers the grace on the gopis and he takes away those limiting adjuncts because as far as those limiting adjuncts are there, Jiva cannot get liberation. Now, on the request of the gopis, Krishna gave those clothes back to them, assuring that they will get united with Krishna. Now, here again, it is suggestive of assigning them divine bodies. Because when gopis will get united with Krishna, they should have the divine bodies. Because there is a concept called Leela, participation in the Leela. Vallabhacharya has elaborated on this, that what is the nature of moksha? It is not Brahmavid Brahmaiva Bhavati, not, getting merged into Brahman, but participating in the Leela of the God. So gopis get to participate in the Leela of God, and for that they will need divine bodies. So Krishna has given those clothes back. And so participation in the Leela of God we can see in Rasa Panchadhyay, because here the union of gopis and Krishna is described with eroticism, with Shrungara rasa. But again, this Shrungara is on superficial level, but the inner sense is of bhakti. The inner meaning is bhakti. The metaphor of Shrungara is used to highlight the principle of Madhura Bhakti. So here gopis are married ladies, but they forget everything when they listen to the flute of Krishna, the divine call, and they abandon everything and come to Krishna. Now, here abandoning the household work is symbolic of untying the worldly activities. It suggests the principle of surrender, and they get united with Krishna, which is symbolic. Means this eroticism actually is the symbolic of bliss of moksha, because the bliss of moksha cannot be described. It is beyond words. But Puranas make an attempt to uh, make it understandable, and it should be within the common reach of the common people. So, how to make it understand to the common people? So, they have used this allegory of Rasa Krida. And there are various signs in the Bhagavata Purana itself to decode that, because here the word Krishna is not used, but word is used is Bhagavan. So he is not ordinary human being in Rasa Panchadhyay, but Bhagavan. Then it is said that he resorted to Yoga Maya. His power, his Yoga Maya, that is the spiritual power. He was equipped with Shadaishwarya, all his Aishwarya, all his glory, and then decided to, start his Leela. Then again and again it is said that those gopis, though they were married ladies, actually their mind was already taken by Govinda, Krishna, or this Bhagavan, the Lord. Means they were actually, their mind was actually totally what we can say, surrender to the God, it is said. In even the questions are raised in Rasa Panchadhyay, that how their mind can get surrendered to Krishna. It is said that already it is actually the Virahagani, means that Virahagani has burned all their evils and sins, and their mind is purified, and that has already taken by Krishna. So now they can't go back to the worldly affairs. And the unity of Jiva and Brahman, actually, in the form of Leela, gets exemplified in the metaphor of the Rasa Krida. So Rasa Panchadhyay must be recoded through the philosophical and spiritual interpretation. The worldly meaning is not at all possible. Then only we can understand the true essence of bhakti from Bhagavata Purana, we can say. So these are some examples, but there are many actually, and they can be understood from multifarious ways. I have done that attempt in my book, Narrative Analysis of Bhagavata Purana. So if you want to go into those details, you can definitely read my book. And thank you very much. Here I stop, and we can take questions if there is time. Thank you.
Outstanding presentation, ma'am. Excellent connotations, and um, it was a downpour of information. Highly happy about listening to you. Thank you so much for a
Yes, ma'am.
reverberating lecture.
Yes, really, it was so very nice and great.
We still want to hear. We don't want to even close the meeting today. Excellent, excellent, ma'am. So nice.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the opportunity and for getting connected with all this scholarly audience.
Dear participants, if there are any questions, you can please raise and get it clarified from Madam.
Hello. Good evening, madam. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Good evening,
Yes, sir.
madam.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we generally good. Thanks for your wonderful talk. First of all, then I will go into my this thing. As we people are falling in between the Dvesha Buddhi and Sadbuddhi. Now, my question is like this: that's how we can analyze this Dvesha Buddhi in terms of assimilation and acculturation.
Yeah, these are two different viewpoints because see, Vidvesha Bhakti is very much in the Puranas, which is shown in case of demons. Because what they want to state is if those demons, though they were having the feeling of enmity towards God, got liberated, and if you have Sadbuddhi, then definitely you will get liberation. Because
Okay.
common people always feel that liberation is something beyond my capacity. How can
Okay.
I get it? But Purana makes it simple for you, saying that if even demons got liberation by their Dvesha Buddhi, but it doesn't preach you that you should have Dvesha Buddhi, okay, for God. You should have
Okay.
Sadbuddhi. You should have definitely the respect and the love for God. But even if they got liberated by Dvesha Buddhi, then what about you? You will definitely get liberation by
Okay.
love and dedication. Yes.
Okay. Thanks. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Any other question?
Are there questions from the participants? Or otherwise, shall we go for formal vote of thanks, Dr. Usha? Dr. Ramesh is there? Dr. Usha? Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
I was talking, but I was muted. I did not notice. Yeah, he's there.
Oh,
We can.
shall we go for formal vote of
Yes,
thanks,
yes,
Dr. Usha?
yes.
Yes.
We can.
Yes, please.
Ramesh ji was also here. I saw him.
Okay. Sir, you can please go for formal vote of thanks, sir. Please unmute yourself.
Hello.